Welcome to Bullion Bulletin. Now we have very special guest of this conference, Dr. Paul Fisher. He is the chairman of London Bullion Market Association. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Bullion Bulletin. It's my pleasure to talk to you. Sir, my first question. During your presentation, you said about NSFR.
Yeah.
How can it impact global gold market?
Well, it could mean that the current way in which the banks are able to offer services to their customers, particularly the producers, has to change. We don't know exactly what yet, but it could make it very expensive to offer the hedging arrangements they currently do in exactly the same way. So that's the first risk. And the second risk is that it could upset the clearing system in London, making it more expensive to trade through the international markets. But if we can't get the rules changed, then we'll have to look to see whether or not the actual structure of the market can change in order to keep costs down.
So, on the physical market, what would be the bigger implication? I think what you are mentioned about NSFR impact on the bullion side, on the banking segment, on the physical market, what could be the possible impact?
Well, it will just increase the cost for producers. That's the main impact. And ultimately, the customers will end up paying the extra costs. So it is a cost issue more than anything else.
So in the second aspect, you have talks. You spoke about monetary and fiscal policy.
Yeah.
And whatever the points you mentioned, for me, I think it is all good for the global gold market.
Yeah.
So what is, just clarify a little bit more.
Well, what we're likely to have is a period of great uncertainty in which relatively small events could cause quite significant disruptions in financial markets. So that will disrupt the market, but as you say, that could actually be good for supporting the gold price. And actually the investment banks also like a volatile market. Whereas for end users, it tends to increase costs again and so on. So it's a balance. If you're an investor in gold, then it's rather hard to wish for international uncertainty, but it could be supported.
But as of now, we have not seen a major impact except that when the Brexit came out. So, well, Brexit settlement is going on. And Asian political tension you did mention. So this political tension is you indicated about the North Korea-US crisis or any bigger Asian political crisis you are looking at?
Yeah. So these events can have very sudden market moves. So last week we saw Italian government debt sell off after an election.
Right.
And that's the sort of event which you can't easily anticipate. And it's possible to lose quite a large sum of money basically overnight on those sorts of events. And in the gold market, again, it could swing either way. And you just don't know when that's going to happen. And so I think this is going to be a period where we could just see these sudden jumps in price. And we'll have to see. It hasn't happened yet, but who knows?
So what is your expectation? How these for next 2 to 5 years? How ultimately this global financial market is shaping out, and what could be the possible gold price we could anticipate in next?
Well, I wouldn't like to forecast what the gold price to go to, because if I could do that, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be making a fortune in the gold market. But I think it's quite likely, it's much more likely now that we will have a peak and a trough in the global economy than we did before. The central banks will be trying to smooth that out, but I think if US policy goes off track, it's going to be very hard for everybody else to smooth through the business cycle. And so it could be quite bumpy for the overall economy, and that would include Asia as well as the Western world.
There was a news sometime back that maybe China, Russia, they are trying to do some trades denominated in yuan, Chinese yuan. Do you think any such incidents may happen when we can see in the Asian zone, China is looking more towards yuan-denominated gold rather than the dollar-denominated gold?
Yeah. Really, the Asian market should be independent of a lot of what happens in the West. And it's exchange rate policy which brings it through. And so if people will continue to manage their exchange rates against the US dollar, then that will import a lot of these disturbances into Asia. If they could have the confidence to allow the dollar to freely fluctuate against Asian currencies, that would help keep these incidents separated to the West. So really, I think it's up to the Asian authorities to allow that exchange rates to move a lot more freely, and then they would find there was less economic impact coming through from these sorts of
So in that kind of scenario, how LBMA can play its part in the interaction?
Well, no, the LBMA can't do much about monetary and fiscal policy. But it is something which our market members are very keen to understand and reflect on. So we can help promote the dialogue and discussion around that in the market. So when we have our conference, we always open with a monetary policy discussion, for example, because that's what the market wants to hear and wants to understand. So we can play a small role in that in terms of getting a bit more understanding about what is going on, but we can't actually, of course, prevent it happening.
So what then the next step LBMA is doing on the chain of custody policies, responsible sourcing policies?
Yeah, so a range of things there. We are improving the responsible gold sourcing all the time. We're going to be adding in more environmental factors this year, along things like child slave labour and artisanal mining. We're going to be looking at those environmental factors. But the biggest issue we have at the moment is the potential for fraud in the kilobar market. And at the moment, the LBMA only has formal responsibility for bullion-sized bars, 400-ounce bars. But the kilo bar market is very important to the industry. And if we got a succession of scandals and fraudulent gold in that market, that would be bad for the global market. And so we need to work out precisely what the problem is and what potential solutions are, and whether there's a role for the LBMA in helping to address that issue. But I think what is certain is that we need some sort of initiative in the kilo bar market to try to maintain standards.
I think Singapore Bullion Market Association is also working hard on this kilobar market.
The solution has to be global, and whether we do that in partnership with others or whether the LBMA takes a lead role, that's to be discussed. The most important thing is that if there is an issue in that market, we will all get the blame, whether we have direct responsibility or not.
Right.
So we all have an vested interest in trying to improve the integrity of that kilobar market.
Without LBMA, I don't think it is possible. My last question is, what is your expectation about the Singapore and the ASEAN as a whole? How LBMA is looking at particularly this corridor of 7-8 countries in the ASEAN region?
Well, this is the part of the world in which financial markets generally are going to grow, including the gold market. And we increasingly see ourselves as setting the standards for a global industry, of which Asia is the growth centre. And so we need to be working with people over here on a more routine, regular basis in order to make sure we're maintaining those standards for the whole of the market. What you don't want is a fractured market with different standards in different locations. So one market, one set of standards, but that means that all the stakeholders have to feel a part of that system. So it can't be set for Asia just from London, or simply set that way. It has to be set as a global market.
So are you enjoying the second Asia Pacific Precious Metal Conference? How are you finding it till now?
Yeah, I wasn't able to come last year, but it's always nice to come to Singapore. And Asia generally is always a joy to visit. So, and I know LBMA is on the plane more often, and we now have a permanent representative based in Hong Kong to be our voice in Asia. And we need to make sure that the various initiatives we have, the standards and the codes and things, are being circulated and understood in Asia, so that we can maintain that integrity of the global market.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for talking to Bullion Bulletin.